Welcome to English Without Borders. We are so happy to see all of you joining from different parts of Tajikistan as well as different parts of the world. And today we are very happy to host Bakhtiyor Davlatmurodov, who is also regional representative of English Without Borders. And today he will talk about using assessment for making improvements in learners' outcome. So welcome, Bakhtiyor. We are very happy to see you. And of course, we are so excited to start the webinar with you. Let me introduce our speaker today. Bakhtiyor Davlatmurodov is a teacher educator with 10 years of pedagogical experience, being in constant professional growth, engaged in making effective lesson plans and using various modern approaches, techniques, and methods in classroom instruction. Bakhtiyor has a bachelor's degree in English and German languages from Horok State University. And after graduating, he worked in several secondary state schools in Rushan, Darvaz districts of GBO, and Kanibadam town in Suft. In 2009, he was appointed as program officer and coordinator of a summer camp in the international organization ITREB in Suft region. In 2014, he worked with international students in Nairobi, Kenya, and widely discussed global problems with international students by organizing a capstone project. A capstone project, yes, because of participating in international program for teacher educators in Dubai in 2014 and 2015, and successfully completing and defending his action research on improving teachers' questioning skills and reflecting upon them. He has conducted several training and workshops with English instructors in Hujan, Horok, Bokhtar, and Dushanbe. In addition, after 8 months of preparation courses of IELTS and TKT in 2016, he has been teaching IELTS to students and preparing them for entering abroad universities. Apart from being selected as an English teacher at SPCE in 2017, where he hasn't only taught students but also was in charge of an English for Journalists project, he has also been involved in working with 2 public organizations, INOM in Suft and Jurat in Badakhshan as an education manager. So welcome, Bakhtiyor. We are so happy to see you. And dear audience, please use this opportunity to put your questions in the chat box via Zoom or in the comment box on Facebook. So after the presentation, we will address those questions to our speaker. And the floor is yours. Over to you, Bakhtiyor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to make sure you hear me. So, hello, dear all members. As it was introduced, I am Bakhtiyor Davlatmurodov, and today I would like to talk and present about one of the most important topics in teaching. And we teach and we understand the progress of our students based on this, and it is assessment. So we regularly assess our students in order to know the progress, their progress, our progress, how as teachers we grow, and of course using different approaches, different techniques, and you know that differentiate our instruction so that to make our lessons more interactive and child-centered. I've decided to offer a presentation on this topic, and first of all I would like to share my slides to grab your attention to my plan so that you can clearly see that what we are going to cover today. So, as I introduced, our today's topic is using assessment for making improvements in learners' outcome. So, these are the key points that we will address, we will talk about today. First of all, we will talk about, of course, what is the purpose of assessment, why it is done, and using different types of classroom assessment that I'm pretty sure that you know about them. But in this presentation, I will mostly focus on my own, let's say, teaching and the methods, maybe the approaches, the methodology, the techniques that I personally have been using in my instruction for many years. And today is a great opportunity also for me to share my own experience and, the successful stories that I've done with my students and achieved desirable results in my instruction. And then further, we will move and switch to talking about alternative and traditional assessment. We will also try to point out about the trends in today's in the contemporary methodology. What are some of the trends that we can clearly see, and at the same time compare them with what they were in the past. And of course, we will in this presentation also talk about the link between planning, instruction, and assessment. Before we start, I would like to start by showing you an illustration and as a warm-up. And I would like to know your thoughts, your ideas about this illustration. Of course, you need to share and express maybe your ideas about the given illustration in terms of teaching, of course, and in terms of assessment in particular. So let's hear some maybe voices, some responses by you, and then we will, of course, go on. I hope that everyone sees my slide. Is it visible? Okay. Then if someone wants to share his or her opinion, you are welcome. We can listen. And then we will go on, continue. How many participants are? Okay. Well, just so in order not to, we are teachers and time is very valuable for us. In order not to waste our time, just I want to ask you some question as well, and at the same time share my own opinion. This illustration shows that we educators, teachers, sometimes, for example, stick to some kind of standardized tests. We know that every child is different. The way they perceive the learned materials is also different, and in terms of mentality, physical abilities, and It is not fair to test every student equally. So we bear in mind that we need to, of course, differentiate our instruction. First of all, imagine that you have different students, I mean, different level students, and at the same time, you want to test them equally. Of course, it is not fair. There are a lot of tests which are only for those, maybe their language proficiency is high, or the way, for example, they gain the information. But we sometimes ignore the multiple intelligences, the different skills that our students have, the different, for example, abilities, skills that our students have, we ignore them. So it means that, of course, there are nice approaches towards it, towards our instruction. When we teach, we need to always some kind of being aware of our students' desire, wishes, how they can, for example, learn the materials. And according to that, we can, using different kind of assessment and test them. For the students that they have low, for example, their cognitive skills are not so developed, I don't think that conducting such tests are a good ideas, because you know that you teach them, and the way they you use formative assessment during your classroom, you know that how they perform during the class, and based on their maybe understanding the way they learn the materials, you can prepare some kind of assessment, not particularly tests, but different kinds of methods. For example, yesterday I had a class, and in order to manage my time well, I asked my students to interview each other, just giving them sample questions, and ask them to work in pairs. Because of time, I said that you need to record your voices, because later I will listen to your voices, to your recordings, and based on your recordings, I will assess you, and I will not, you know, that grade you. Usually at schools, we use it a lot, but rather than I will give my useful tips and feedback, so that you can understand your arrows in terms of fluency, coherence, in terms of vocabulary, grammatical range, and pronunciation as well. And then instead of telling them the theory, I went home and I listened. We have a group on Telegram, and they sent their recordings. I listened, and I wrote down some of the nice comments that as a teacher, I just wanted to share with my students. When I went to the class, I just started telling them giving them the feedback, the comments. For example, I said that why the question was in past and you answered in present, and why the question was about children, but you talked in general. So I think that the students, it was clear that the students really liked it. And later they also wrote their reflection, and they said that it was really nice. Now we know to what we focus when we interview. So not only just to test our students, but to listen to them and to give them some oral feedback, and try to evaluate them and at the same time praise them. We teachers should be good friends for our students and to create a nice atmosphere. So maybe you can later let us know, write in the comment box your thoughts and ideas. And because of limited time, we can continue our presentation and start talking about why do we assess our students? What is the purpose behind it? Of course, there are many purposes why we do it. First of all, we grow based on our students' progress, the way they comment on our teaching. And in order to see that how my students or our students progress during the instruction, we need to, first of all, prepare our lessons to use different approaches. And when we assess our student, it helps us how to plan our lesson, of course, based on their performance. We teach them and understand that it works, it worked, it didn't work. And as a teacher, what went wrong and what to focus on. And later I will plan and conduct my instruction and make it more interesting. And I told my wife is also a teacher, and I told her that I had taught a lot of groups, but every time when I start teaching, I know what didn't, for example, work, and every time I want to, make my instruction better and better, and it really helps me. Of course, based on assessment, we can also place our students in the right, to know their level, to know their understanding, to know their needs, what we should prepare. And I think that in the recent years, I've started to give my students a lot of feedback orally rather than in written form. And it also really helped. And I also listened to them, to my students, and they also gave nice, said very nice comments. Of course, this is also a nice opportunity for us. When we assess our students, we understand their problems again, about their social status, and also what topics they are interested in. And of course, we have textbooks, but you know that sometimes we as teachers need to enroll some changes there, contextualize the learned materials. Maybe we think that this activity is not so effective for my students, so I need to somehow enroll some changes in my instruction and to make it more effective. For example, usually we use American and British textbooks, but our students don't have much information about their culture and history, and it doesn't allow our students to be more expressive. That's why we need to somehow relate, contextualize the topic to our culture. For example, if the topic is about festivals, we can use our own festivals. If we have different students from different regions, I know that those who are teaching at school is different from those who are teaching at universities or language centers. I mostly teach at learning centers, and I have students from different regions, and it allows me to conduct some nice activities interesting activities, because we know that all three regions that are in Tajikistan have different cultures and customs. The way we celebrate them is also different, so the students can make it more interesting, perform it, and even role play, which is really nice. So these are the main purpose of assessment is clear. We grow as teachers based on our students' progress, but how we can do it, we need to assess them. Otherwise, imagine that we only teach our students. We don't ask them any questions, we don't implement any assessment, and you know that from one side, they will also use the opportunity not to study well, and we also don't know. We just teach, we just waste our time, I can say, but we don't know whether whatever we are doing, the students are having progress or not. It is the key question. So we need to talk about some different types of assessment. There are many types. Some of them are functions, some of them are types of assessment, but the main ones are the three ones: diagnostic, formative, and summative. We will not talk too much about them because I know that you know about them, but I will just explain them through one analogy. Do you know what is analogy? There is one analogy that I would like to show it and to also know your opinion about that. And I can encourage you to be more expressive or more active, because I also need in your ideas to know your opinions, and based on it, I can, you know, develop or change my presentation even. So, any ideas? Okay, let's first of all briefly introduce what are the types of assessment. Diagnostic means very simple. You know that it is done before you start teaching. For example, to prepare your lesson plans, to know the content, what activities you need to use, based on your observations, what, for example, went wrong, what worked very well. So mainly it is cognitive, and of course, it takes some time to develop your plan. Best educators and best teachers take a lot of time for preparation and less time for teaching. Because if you want to teach heartily and your students should have nice results, you need to somehow prepare for it very well. You need to be very well prepared. It doesn't mean that you are not ready for the lesson, but it means that you need to think about nice activities in today's instruction. A lot of students come and say that, teacher, is it okay to attend your lesson, your first lesson, and then we decide whether we will study or not? You know, because they just want to see that how the teacher is teaching, the money they spend, is it worth it or not? So that's why they always, I had a lot of situations and they come and sit in the first class and then they decide. Formative, I really like formative assessment. Formative assessment is when you teach grammar, or it doesn't matter, listening, reading, writing, and timely, you need to test your students, to ask them questions, to, for example, use other strategies, make sure that how did they learn. This is during the, instruction, maybe in one lesson you can do a lot of it to see how did you teach? This is very important. How did you teach them? By asking them the very common assessment, that is asking questions. Yeah. And critical questions like why should be always there. Even to do the test, we need to say why the first one is correct. Why is it? You need to explain it. Why is it so? And summative usually is done at the end of the course, at the end of academic year, and it is usually graded to put marks for students and to see that whether the students, whatever they have learned during the year or during the course, will pass the exam or fail it. So this is summative. Let's explain them through one analogy. But you need to first say your idea. So this is a slide illustration. You can see that what does the cook do? What does she do while she's, for example, preparing the dish or the food? Any replies? Any responses?
She's tasting.
Yeah, of course. And during this process that she's preparing the food, to what she mostly focuses, pays attention?
First ingredients, then recipes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then how the result will be.
Great. So to make sure that everything is there before delivering it to customers, because after that it will be the summative assessment. Because if the customers complain about something, then of course it affects on you personally. Your boss will, argue you in order not to be careful. And it can be also a reason of losing your customers. Yeah. So this is a very clear example, analogy.
Hello, teacher Bakhtiyor.
Oh, Tadbarak, it's so nice to hear you.
How are you? Hope you are doing well.
Yes, of
I'm
course.
really pleasant that I have an opportunity to take in your webinar, to take part in your webinar.
Great, me
So,
too.
and the webinar topic is also so interesting. So I want to share my opinion right now in these two pictures. So I think that we have here formative assessment and summative assessment. I think that when, for example, we can see here a cook who is just testing the soup, and I think it's we teachers, while in our lessons, while we are doing assessment with our students, like we are preparing them for the summative assessment where the result is very important. For example, they can get the grades, they can maybe pass their level. That's why it's very important before the summative assessment, do the formative assessment.
Great, excellent, very nice. It is clearly stated that, yeah, as a teacher, experienced teacher, you stated that in order, yeah, not to, to know about your students' progress, we need to timely assess them, not, for example, after a very long time,
come
as
to the
it is done.
summative assessment.
Yeah, not, waiting for it when it comes to an end, and then we need to assess them. Great, excellent. So another point, this is What about garden? If we think our children as plants, think about before it, for example, grows, yeah, and how you can, for example, here try to contextualize it in terms of children. Imagine that our students are as plants. This is analogy one. Analogy, it is a comparison of something similarity, often used to help explain principles and ideas, the same ideas. So,
hello, everyone. Well, I wanted to say my opinion on this analogy. Well, if consider children as plants, and different plants need different fertilizers to grow, but if we use one fertilizer for all plants, then one will grow well, others will just die. So I think the same can apply to teaching. If we use the same thing to all the students, then students with similar abilities will succeed, and others will not die but will not succeed at what we are teaching.
great point you made. And sometimes, you know, that we forget about those, in our opinion, are not so active students during our classroom. And we mostly pay attention to those who are ahead of them, and they are very active. And we start grading them 5, 4, like this, and that's it. Look, think about Molema Munawar wants to say something. Molema,
Okay.
sorry for
Yeah.
not noticing
Yeah.
your hand.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. So, as the theme, assessment is very important for every teacher. So I can say that I am also an experienced teacher, and I know that one plan doesn't work for one student and another plan doesn't work for another. That's why, first of all, teacher, if the teacher wants to make progress with students, first of all, she must know the ability of her students and the learning style. So that's why there are different ways of assessing students. For example, testing, putting, for example, assessing their reading, and also. So that's why, as you want to compare the children with the plant, so the plant is the same, but when we want to grow them, we get different results. That's why our children, of course, like a plant, they are making progress sometimes quickly, sometimes very slowly, but nevertheless, the students are learning. So, and we must pay attention to the way of learning and to the, for example, to the speed of their learning. That's why you are also right that we must have different way of assessing our students. Thank you.
Great, excellent. It mostly, Molema, happens because we don't consider the uniqueness in each student, and we don't bear in our mind the weakness and the strength in each student. And we use the particular test to assess our students, which doesn't work today. In today's instruction, mostly, in particular, that I observed in my own instruction. One day I just went to the language center and I noticed that one teacher is just crossing and, you know, checking the students' tests. And she said that I didn't sleep at night and I'm still checking it. And you know that some students are performing very well, some students don't. I just told her that instead of, for example, you can check it, you can do it as discussion. You can, if you have modern equipment, yes, if your classroom is well equipped, you can use LCD to put the test on the screen and ask different students to read the first one and then say what is the correct option. And when the students say, maybe different students will say different answers, but you will say the correct one is B, but need to ask the students to explain it. As a result, your job, your burden will be easier, and the students will learn it from each other better, because they will, of course, listen to their peers. Their peers are commenting and they are saying their feedback, why the C1 is incorrect, why the A1 is correct. And through this discussion, I think the tests will be also very effective and interactive. Not just assessing them paper-based or something as in traditional way of assessing our students. So what are some of the shifts, some of the trends, modifications, changes that had happened in today's instruction? There are some points that I've written there. You can have a look at them, but I will not read them one by one because of time. I just want to mention that today, self-assessment and peer assessment is really popular in methodology, rather than you do it and assess the students. Because through this, you will listen to your students and you will also identify their talents and skills mostly. And it also allows you to, for example, develop, for example, to create some nice necessary materials for them to prepare. And before, it used to be paper pencil based tests where you need to give your students a limited time and ask them to fill the gaps or to do the test. But today there are more authentic assessment, real assessment. I mean, you can do it through different ways, not just only paper based. And from mainly individual assessment today, there are also group assessment and collaboration can be seen. And as a result, you can implement some nice activities. As a listener, you can go through them, listen just to them, and whatever they say, you need to write down, and then in public, you need to say their mistakes. So rather than today paying attention to their behavior that it used to be in the past, we need to pay attention to their cognitive skills, the way we allow thinking, the way we allow discussions, more collaboration, more interaction in our classes, so that the students can learn not from the teacher as well, but from each other. So this is the shift, very great trend in today's methodology, so that it makes our job as teachers very, very easy. Before participating in international conference in Dubai, I also worked on myself a lot. And as a result, I was so tired, but after getting some nice, strategies, methodology, I totally have changed my instruction, my methodology. And I really liked it. And it also allowed my students, is still allowing my students to develop more. And because through collaborating and, group working and some other nice assessment, we can clearly see that how they are growing. These are the trends. How, for example, before I show you the points, how you can link instruction with assessment as teachers? How you can link? What is the link between instruction and assessment? How it could be combined? How it can be done? The lesson, What is the link? If there are any responses. Mhm. So, as we said, and also you pointed out that considering their prior knowledge, we need to design our plans. I will bring one example rather than going through all the points. My father was ill, and it was chance for me as a son to go to my hometown and to take care of him, and at the same time teach there in my hometown. When I went there, I decided to teach differently there. If you heard about one of the most influential organizations, Jurat, I joined it, and the director, Mr. Sadi, asked me to work with the students in the center of Roshan district. And I told him that as I came, I need to assess the students in terms of not grammar, just I want to make a kind of talk show with the students, to ask them very, very elementary questions. And where do you live? Why do you like it? Or something, tell me about your street. What is near to your street? Just to make sure that I was there English, because sometimes testing the students using the paper pencil base, for example, doesn't help us. So I decided to group them, to identify their appropriate levels through talking with them and asking them to write about it. And after that, I grouped them. And I told him that I will use, of course, the textbooks, but as I said, I will teach one level during the year. Just I want to enroll there in many projects. I want to engage parents also there. I want to teach differently to see how we will grow. As a result, you know that from September, I taught the students till June. I achieved very nice results. The students also, the teachers, the parents also came, and of course were very happy for their children's progress. And you know that it is somehow we link our teaching and of course, how we can link? We can link it when we assess their knowledge. We apply that information to a situation, and of course, engage the students mostly in problem solving. One of the best approaches that I found in my instruction guys, very informal, of course, because we used to say guys in our classrooms. It is giving them a task and asking them to say some solutions to the problem, and it really allows students to think and opportunities to revise. I don't know, but I think that as a teacher, I suggest that mostly we need to use oral assessment, and at the same time provide some feedback orally, and try to provide them with some examples so that they can grow and they can go forward. So let's have a look at some alternative assessment techniques that I really found interesting. The first is making aims clear. I think if you are teaching, what is the name of that textbook? English Files, the 4th edition. I don't know about beginner in elementary, but from pre-intermediate, at the beginning of the lesson in teacher's book, it is given, there are given some nice worldwide or recognized quotes, and writing them on the board, or if you have groups with your students, asking them to come with some ideas to the classroom, you will have a nice, interaction in your class. And you can also write your objectives. Talk to students about why they are studying, what they are studying, what did they learn today, what were some of the, what was the thing that they didn't understand, and let you know about that. I use reflection a lot in my instruction. Even for when I teach beginners, I ask them to write about the lesson, and it is really nice. As a teacher, I can also understand what they've learned and what questions are remained there in order to work and go forward. The second one, students write questions. I think that there should be question box in your classroom where students can drop questions at the end of the lesson. It can be anonymous. You can ask the students, just write them, and even don't write your names there, for the aim of understanding how they got the lesson, and what are some other questions that remained, in order to work on them and in order to prepare something, and based on their needs, you can also teach. Of course, we teachers cannot be, we can't teach according completely whatever they say, but somehow we can contextualize it. Wait time, yeah. One of the things that in our education system we can clearly observe at schools, is at secondary schools, is that that we usually don't allow our students to think, to wait, to ask the question, to wait for their responses, not being patient. We directly ask from them responses. And then they can, for example, write a question to another student to pass it. One student can read it and another student can answer, to say it loudly, and at the same time, if his or her peer or pair partner doesn't respond, anyone can answer to this question. 2 stars in a wish. For peer assessment, give 2 stars in a wish. It means that students need to write down 2 things that they have learned, good things, positive things. We need to also teach our students to think positively. Our life is full of negatives, but we need to create nice atmosphere to tell them that positive things. And one thing that, of course, they need to learn, a wish, something that they can, for example, maybe really want to learn and to practice. So these are some of the alternative ways of assessment that you can, as teachers, implement them, use them, and maybe you are using them. If it is so, it is really nice, and we can learn from each other and go forward. So at the end, before we start our question and answer session, I would like to point out that this is very, very important part of teaching assessment. And each lesson for us an opportunity to reflect, to assess, and to know what kind of teachers we are. And through assessment, we can also understand how our students are growing, how we are growing as teachers. And using differentiation, using nice strategies in our instruction that we are aware. As one of the African teachers say, glue glue is also always there. For us to be our friend, to search, to do mini research always before we, conduct any lessons, nice activities, nice sites that we can use to make our lessons very, very interactive. So I think that I talked a lot in order not to make it boring. I think it is now time. Maybe I can say something that you really want to know about something else. That's why it is better to listen to you, to your questions. If I know, I'm very happy to answer. If not, we can do it in future to prepare and to, present.
Okay, thank you, Bakhtiyor. Very interesting presentation. And I'm sure, teachers who listened to this presentation and watched it, they got some useful tips for themselves. And yeah, we are opening the floor to questions and answers. And so we have some questions here available. So the first question, how do we use assessment to manage an appropriate balance between content and language, such that there is no fear?
Mm-hmm. So did I get it right that not English, but different languages? Or do you mean English? By whom this question was?
I think the question came from the Facebook, Facebook watcher, and I guess here the question about English one. I guess so.
Okay, so dear Nasiba, could you please
repeat again?
Yeah, repeat it again.
Good. Yes. How do we use assessment to manage an appropriate balance between content and language, such that there is no fear?
Mm-hmm. So it is how we said the link between our instruction and the way we, for example, assess our students. Of course, we know that we have strong students, and there are also students, we can say they are not active, but the way they perceive the materials is different. So fear is always there. But in order to raise their self-confidence and the content, the topic that we are delivering to them, it depends on us as teachers. And as I said during my presentation, we can contextualize the material. We can conduct some group works to ask some students, as we think that they have fear, they have something, they're afraid to express their thoughts, we can place them in different places. After, for example, grouping and after talking in groups and working in groups and to get some ideas, In other words, when they become experts in their maybe question or the task that we give them, then we can also ask them to speak in a public way and also to work in pairs, to something learn from the partners, and at the same time they can develop their self-confidence, to lose the fear that they have.
Okay. 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 So we have next question. So let me open that. Yeah. Mavluda is asking, can you please share some techniques to assess your students' comprehension while completing an activities in the classroom?
Mhm. The one that I said, doing the test through discussion, it really helps. I never check students' tests. I never do it. The students do it. It makes me, you know, that to be not, how to say, overloaded, because we need to think about our lesson plans, and we need to think about how we can make our lesson interactive, interesting. This is one. The second thing that I do is to, for example, when I teach grammar, I usually ask my students to make some questions. And for example, when the topic is delivered, grammar topic, I mean, then I ask, for example, Rasul, can you ask the first question in public way? When Rasul asks, anyone can answer, and it also allows other students, they can also respond. If they don't know, they can learn. Another thing that I really found useful is preparing questions, allowing the students what have they learned in previous class, in order to connect the previous class with the current class. I ask the students to come to the class with 15 questions. Of course, I ask it from those students whose level is above the elementary. And I usually do it at the end of the unit, whatever they have learned, because whatever they have learned, they know how to prepare questions. When they come, I ask one of the students to ask the question. And before that, I ask that student that to whom the question is. If he says that my question is to Anisa, then Anisa needs to speak. If we see that Anisa is still thinking, so allowing other students to share, to respond to that question. And in turn, we can ask other students to ask questions. Nice activities for group assessment, for peer assessment, very nice. There is much collaboration and interaction and speaking.
Okay, thank you, Bakhtiyor. We have next question from Ati Munawar. She's asking, do you think that debate is an effective way to assess students' speaking skills?
Definitely, definitely. I implement many debates in my instruction. And as I said, when I went to my hometown, the level of their English was really low. And I was told that they have been learning English for many years, but I decided to identify their level, English level, through organizing a kind of debate. Very common topics were selected, like computers are good or bad, the positive sides of it or the negative sides. And then I divided the students and I asked them to take some time to search for some arguments, to discuss it first of all in your home groups, and then we will do it in public. I think that if we do debates, organize debates regularly, it is a really nice opportunity for assessment. You know that how I did, I knew about my students' progress speaking skills. I decided to organize a debate between, for example, Mrs. Sadbar's students and my students. Usually when we teach our students, we just don't notice it clearly. But when we went to their village and organized a kind of talk show, and I saw that the students express their views very clearly. And in my own instruction, it was totally different. So allowing some talk shows, debates, and some nice conversations, it is the best tool and the best way, the best approach for assessing the students. Definitely, Molina.
Okay, thank you so much. We have just more questions. Gulnoro is asking, how do you assess group when there is no equal contribution?
Thank you very much. So different strategies can be used, first of all. You are, as a teacher, you know that like the illustration that we have discussed, it doesn't work. So you can use different approaches, strategies that, for example, giving some students to write something. For example, one of the best activities that I do with mixed level students, it is writing some words from the unit that they have learned so far, to write them there by commas and going to different students and asking them to use them in context. And of course, I will think about how to organize and arrange the tables as well, to sit maybe those students you think that they didn't get the point very well, with those, for example, who got it better. So they can collaborate and they can help each other. As a result, even the not active students can be also engaged. Of course, another thing that we can do is pair work, giving them different tasks and taking a notebook, going to them and listening to them, recording, and then giving them some feedback as a teacher. And not standardized tests, of course, that doesn't work for all students. We need to bear in mind that even in our classes, as we are teaching through levels, the same situations we have. We face with a lot of situations where students who are good at writing, at grammar, at reading, and we can ask them to present also why they're successful in reading. They can share the text. Well, how did you clearly find the answer? Those who are good at grammar, we can ask them to do mini presentation, why not? And one lesson we can organize in a very free style of teaching. So not using the same test or maybe the same strategy.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bakhtiyor. We have next question from Bakhti Begim. She's asking, how do you assess very silent students? Although they are silent, they are too smart.
I don't know. When I start teaching students, I receive a lot of calls from parents, and they are telling me that, could you accept my son or my daughter to pre-intermediate level, to intermediate level, because they've been learning English for many years. But when they come, and when I ask them very simple questions, they are silent. The way you see that they learn even passive voice, the way their notebooks, their notes are very rich in terms of vocabulary, you know, something like that. And then, as a teacher, I see that the students are silent. I just allow a lot of questioning in my instruction. For example, not recently, one girl joined my class whose parents told me that she had done with her elementary class. When she came, very easy questions were asked. She didn't know. And I asked her first to take my beginner course, but she said that she'd already taken it, but she would try to do her best to be on the same page with others. So I allowed her to participate in 3 lessons. She was really silent, but now she can answer without any, you know, shyness. And I don't know, but I really engage them because maybe I use questioning a lot. Maybe I make my lessons more child-centered or something like that. And I make them involved and try to use role plays a lot, role plays. The first, I'm teaching now on my own. I mean, I have private lessons. And you know what is good about private lessons? The first lesson, when I start the unit, I focus totally on vocabulary, only vocabulary, to pronounce them, to spell them, to say phrases, to say sentences, to write mini paragraph with them, and to first speak in pairs, then in public. Even the silent students can start speaking. This methodology really helps to engage even the silent students. And I have article sharing. I ask all my students, it doesn't matter what is their level, I ask them to read something in English. I have with all my students groups, and I share articles according to their levels, and ask them to come to the class to present, to retell it using their own words. Of course, shy students, silent students are not open, but when they present it to their friends, they can also help them. And when I ask them to speak in public, they are very expressive. More speaking, more collaboration, more interaction, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bakhtiyor, for really, you know, insightful presentation And I'm sure, like, you know, we all learned something new from your presentation. And yeah, we would be happy to continue this webinar, but unfortunately our time is also limited. But anyway, we leave this space open. You know, all the followers who watched this webinar, if you have any more questions, you can leave your questions on Facebook, yeah, in the comment box. And later on, of course, like Bakhtiyor will go through them and respond to you, you know, in the thread. So, and meantime, we once again express our deep gratitude to our speaker today, to Bakhtiyor Davlatmurodov, who is English Without Borders regional representative also, and of course, like to our very active members from different parts of Tajikistan. Thank you for joining and yeah, using this moment. And we would like to express our congratulations and best wishes on Nowruz holiday to each of you. And we will resume our webinars in 2 weeks, because during the Nowruz holiday, we will also just, you know, give time for our members to enjoy this family time, Nowruz, who is now on Nowruz holiday. And we will be happy to see you again on March 30th. So our speaker will be Dr. Kevin Burke from USA, and he also will have a very exciting presentation. So thank you, dear all, for your active participation, for your interesting
Thanks a lot.
questions. Yeah, and of course, we will be happy to see you again, Bakhtiyor. Yeah, we're expecting more interesting webinars, and of course, the same the audience. Thank you so much, dear all. Wishing all of you to have
Thanks
a
a lot.
wonderful evening. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much. Thanks.